So this is like our first brunch talk. This is kind of fun.
I know. I'm really excited.
Just sitting around on a Sunday talking about dating and relate. Oh, what are you having to drink? Is that a mimosa? What is that?
It is.
It is. It's a mango mimosa.
Oh, that looks tasty.
Lots of berries.
Where is yours? This was the whole point of doing brunch talks, to have like a little champagne or something.
Oh, I have a drink. It's delicious.
Is it just coffee?
Mm-hmm.
But I've got for coffee.
There's nothing in your coffee?
There is. I have a little whiskey in it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
we need to be on the same playing level here.
Exactly. I'm not going to be like the only guy not playing along. I can't do that.
Right?
What's this picture on your wall? That is so cute. The lady, is that Madonna or something?
Oh my God, no, that's the picture I was telling you about. That's Audrey Hepburn.
Oh, Audrey Hepburn. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see her head. That's cute.
I know her head kind of got cut off, but where her head is, you can't probably see. It says nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible.
Oh, that's
very inspirational. And I love her.
It's very inspirational for the day. I love it.
Home goods decor review.
Actually, my mom got it for me.
I love it.
It was like a poster, and I went to Michael's and got a frame for it.
Oh, nice.
It looks really good on like a gray wall or something, but we only have white walls here, so
I love the white
it doesn't really stand out nicely.
Great for the plants.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is there a lot of plants there?
Yes, their plant game is strong.
Oh, can you get a little closer? Because I could barely hear you, actually.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, man, we've got these.
Is that
You
possible?
want to switch seats? You could probably get closer if you're on my side. And just sit on a pillow so it raises you up. But wait, we're going to try this. Okay. My notes with me. That means you have to refill the champagne. The champagne's on your side. Do you want this little one again?
Yep.
All the pillows? Because I'm okay with like literally sitting on the arm. This is kind of my direction anyways.
Yeah, you have a good, I can hear you. Can you say something?
Check.
Oh man, now I can hear you. Nice.
Okay, good.
And now you're on your good side.
I don't know that I really have a good side, but
No, both of your sides are good.
worse
Come on now, we can't say that.
And now we have to do like an alcohol swap. So
yeah, and a coffee swap.
Yep.
Coffee swap
and a water swap. Oh my God, we have all the things.
Do you ever have like brunch with like dates?
Brunch with dates?
Honestly, someone recently asked me to a brunch date, and it's so hard because I love brunch. Like, it's the most important meal of the day. I could have brunch food for like every meal and be really happy. But I don't know, it just didn't feel like the right move for a first date. Maybe
Not
like
for
the
a
morning
first date.
after.
It is way too long of a date for a first date.
Really? What is considered brunch though? Is it just like, light foods with some champagne or a Bloody Mary? Like what?
Not here. It's like a fucking meal and a half.
I just feel like it's the one meal you eat that day.
It really is.
When you commit to brunch, if you do it right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's some sort of carb station. It's either French toast. Yeah. And then you've got your eggs, essential. And then your alcohol of choice.
Yeah,
and here, a lot of the at least the old ones, the buffet brunches, they would include like oysters and crab legs and like.
Ooh.
Have you never been to Ventana's brunch?
I've never been to Ventana, period.
Wait, is that the one where is that? Ventana? Is that like near you?
Pismo?
It's like, Pismo Shell area somewhere in there.
Got it.
But should we start literally recording for our only listeners?
Yes.
This is like our pre-show for our
pregame.
Yeah.
For our viewers to see. They're the only ones that get to see this.
Yeah. Not everyone. Everyone would just be listening to us, but no, I really guess. So Joan, tell us about yourself. Like
Wait, not yet.
Well, no.
Let me intro the show.
Okay, got it.
Calm your whiskey self. Okay. So, welcome listeners to our Brunch Talks episode. We are going to do this once a season and have a special guest where we have them live and in person, and we are champagning it up. And the only way you're going to be able to actually see this, because you're listening to us now, is to join our subscription on Patreon, or however you say that app.
Yeah.
Patreon.
The Patreon peoples.
Oh, see, she says Patreon too.
I'm a podcast junkie.
Yeah. So if you're wondering who the other female voice is, welcome, Joan. Thank you for being here with us.
Cheers. Mango
Cheers.
mimosa morning.
Yay. And of course, Kanan is always with me because it would not be a show without him.
I try.
So yeah, Kanan, go ahead.
Oh, well, I was just going to ask Joan about herself because you're a very pretty girl. So I'm assuming, you're either with someone or you're at least dating. I don't know. I can't actually, let me not assume. That's being an asshole. Tell us about yourself, Joan.
Okay, well, I'll do it this way. My name is Joan, and I'm a recovering serial monogamist.
I love it.
That's when you say, hi, Joan.
Hi,
Hi,
Joan.
Yeah, so Andrea and I have been friends for a while. I moved here to San Luis Obispo almost 4 years ago. In November, it'll be 4 years. I work in the arts and education. I run the theater at our local community college, which is actually a fact that I leave off of my dating profile for obvious reasons, but I'll share them later.
Okay.
And yes, I am now single. It's been a year, and so I've dipped my toes back into the dating scene, and by dip my toes I mean cannonballed, because I had like several dates last week, and I have several more lined up this week, which is
Fun.
Yeah, okay, we'll go with that.
Wait, so you're a little apprehensive. What's happening?
It's just kind of intense.
Uh-huh.
I think it just requires like a lot of time, which I think is important. I just don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to, so do my due diligence, but also protect my personal space and my time and my priorities without getting sucked into the dating world or going on dates that I really maybe don't want to be on.
Are you on more than one app?
I am only on Bumble.
Okay.
I honestly, the idea of dating multiple people is enough. I don't need to be dating multiple people on multiple apps.
Absolutely.
That is so overwhelming.
What attracted you to Bumble? Like, what was about the website that made you want to go on there?
Like I was on Bumble. I mean, so my brief dating history. Yes, serial monogamous, and yes, long-term relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And when I moved to Slow, I had just ended a 6.5-year saga. That's what we call him anyway. Yeah, it was really intense. It was one of those things that I just kept getting sucked back into, even though I knew it was not where I needed to be. So I literally had to leave Los Angeles and move here. And I gave it, many months of just doing my own thing and finding my way up here, meeting friends and, getting into my professional life. And then I joined Bumble for a brief stint. I think it was 3 months before I started. I know. I think I joined on St. Patrick's Day. I was feeling crazy. I joined on St. Patrick's Day. And then my next relationship started, at the beginning of June with someone who I didn't even meet on Bumble. I mean, the Bumble dating was great. I had a great time. People often find, dating really difficult, and dating in a small town, which Slow kind of is, I would say that it feels
Slow
like
is 100% a small town when it comes to dating.
So I just kept hearing horror stories of oh my God, dating here is the worst. And I was having a grand old time. But then of course I got myself into another long-term relationship, about 2 years. And then that just ended kind of at the beginning of the pandemic, and thank God it ended when it did, because I don't know that I would have personally survived the pandemic if it hadn't ended.
I think a lot of people are in the same boat. So fun
Yeah.
fact, actually, about dating apps tend to prime people for meeting their actual partner in real life.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like the practice rounds, and gets you in this mode of thinking of, I can do this. I'm open to new relationships. I'm going to expand the way I view people. And then all of a sudden you meet someone that's not even on a dating app, and you're like, well, there they were the whole time, but they were only there the whole time because you allowed yourself to get into this mindset to attract them in the first place. So
Which
That
I
makes
think,
perfect sense. So it just like you said. Okay. I never thought about it that way. It just makes you, it's almost like a vision board, as you would say.
yes, it's
Okay.
like you're vision boarding your perfect match, but
Mm.
the way it's working, yeah, statistically speaking, a lot of people go on a dating apps and then meet their actual partner off the app.
Hmm.
yeah, that makes sense.
Well, I want to know, what is it about Bumble? Because I know there's so many out there. Like there's Match, there's these Harmony, there's the one where you swipe left or right or whatever. Like
Bumble's a swiping one.
It is a swipe. I think. Do you mean Tinder? That one?
that's the one.
I've never done Tinder.
Okay.
That is way too intimidating for me.
And you don't want to do Tinder in this area.
Yeah.
You really don't.
Yeah. Well, I actually, okay, so since the pandemic was coming, I mean, maybe this will be a very long period of time, but the ending of the pandemic was sort of on the horizon. I joined Hinge first
Oh, Hinge, I've heard of
because,
that one.
yeah,
Okay.
so that one seemed a little less intimidating. It also has a lesser pool of people. I don't mean quality of people. I mean
Hmm.
Quantity.
Okay.
Um,
Just
yeah.
less people use Hinge in
Then,
this area, but it is up and coming.
yeah.
And
I didn't hate it. I
Yeah.
actually really liked it because the impetus was on them to initiate a conversation. And at that moment in time, I didn't have the energy or the bandwidth to do that, which is the distinguishing factor of Bumble, is that girl has to make the first move. I don't know how it is for same sex people
Oh,
seeking,
yeah.
but I do know that if you're like a cisgender het, like it's the girl makes the move before the guy can do anything.
So what kind of move is it? Is it like you have to send, is like a generic message, or do you have to type something up to send to the guy?
So actually Bumble does have like pre-written prompts, basically like questions that then they can answer.
Hmm.
I've never used them, and actually I've never apparently I'm a very hesitant app user because I've never even opened that option because I didn't want to click the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But typically what I'll do is I'll just say something in response to something on their profile, something relevant. Or this new feature that they have that at least is new to me because I haven't been on Bumble for 3.5 years.
Right.
Is that you can react just like you can react to an Instagram story. Like I can send the heart
Oh.
eye emoji in response to a photo, or I can put, this morning someone, Bumble's great because they've got prompts in addition to photos. So it's not just like a picture swiping app.
Hmm.
Most of the time what attracts me to people is like what they write, like
Hmm.
how they answer questions. And
Hmm.
so the prompt was something I'm just not over yet.
Hmm.
And what he wrote was the fact that The Office is off Netflix.
That's awesome.
I can sympathize with. So I responded with, that like 100 emoji.
Hmm.
And that's all I sent. So if I send that and he has already swiped on me or swiped right on me, then we match. But then I don't have to write anything else.
Oh, that's
that was
nice.
my first move. So now he can respond. And actually, yeah, this morning we responded with something that was just totally blew me away.
I'm so glad that you said that what you look for is what they write, because the whole thing, the big purpose of having you on today's show is to help inform men of what women are looking for when we are on dating sites.
Oh, is that why I'm here? We talked about so many different topics. Okay, that's
Mhm.
good to know though.
Because something that I'm seeing, so a big part of my business is doing profile makeovers for people. And when I do a profile makeover for women, I hardly have to do anything really. It's a few tweaks, but it's pretty simple. They kind of got at least their images down to understand, like, don't wear a hat, don't wear sunglasses, no over the shoulder shots, no like scenery shots.
Mhm.
This isn't a profile for your dog. This is a profile for you.
I feel
Yeah.
personally attacked. I'm kidding. My dog is in one photo, but I have seen
Yes.
profiles where it's just 2 or 3 photos of just their dog, which I'm not gonna lie, I will spend time looking at, but it's not gonna be the reason I saw it.
Right. But like you said, you look for what they say. So let me ask you this, going off of that.
Mhm.
If he only has pictures of his dog, but what he writes is just baller, will you swipe right on him?
You mean if there are like 0 photos of him at all?
I don't know.
I've never seen that. That sounds really sketchy to me. Like if you don't
Yeah.
have a single photo,
In
honestly,
2021, come on.
yeah, I'm not out here about to be murdered. Like
Yeah, exactly.
I don't need that energy in my life.
So what's your assumption if he has 0? I'm just curious.
I think if honestly, because we know my literary and yeah, my okay. Uh, this is hard. If the written responses were so clever and so funny and so smart on things that I also, have an interest in or would connect on, I would maybe shoot a message to see if there was something there, and then if he actually could, I don't know. I've never been one to like ask for pics, but I have no problem saying like, "Are you a real person?" Because I don't want to get murdered.
I don't
Right.
know. I
And
wouldn't go
that's
any. Yeah, well,
You're,
go
you're
ahead,
a no,
Andre.
hard no.
I don't know. I feel like I'm a hard no because I know on gay sites, this is not for straight sites. But usually, if a guy doesn't have a photo, it usually falls in one or two things. Either A, he's extremely in the closet and has a wife and doesn't want anyone to find out who he is, or
True.
B, he has a partner and doesn't want anyone to find out who he is. It's never.
Oh my God, I
It's
didn't
never
even think
because
about
you're
that.
trying to be mysterious. It's
No,
usually because
no,
they're
that's
hiding
100%
something.
true. So the two main reasons why, and yes, I'm kind of leading you into this conversation a little bit. The two main reasons why men in particular don't have photos of themselves: one, they are married and they are cheating and they don't want anyone to see because they're using a
Mm,
different name and things like that. The
mhm.
second reason is that they are tired of being judged for the way they look.
Oh, I
They
didn't
don't
think of
like how they
that.
look.
Yeah.
Which is where I was kind of
Huh.
going with that. Whereas if they have low self-esteem or if they don't like the way they look, like I can 1,000% relate with that.
Mhm.
So
Hmm.
I wouldn't want to write someone off just for that reason. Like I said, if everything else was like super on point, I would maybe start a conversation. I don't know. It depends if the dog like sheds or not, because I am also like pretty allergic.
Mm.
So I apparently breed is a factor, but
Breed of dog or breed of
Well, that is
man?
important because the dogs that shed, not only
angel's
do you get
question.
allergic. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I think in my head, like coming from a female perspective, or at least a person who doesn't want to get murdered perspective,
Hmm.
the reason that I am so obscure, not even so obscure, I don't think people even notice how obscure my profile is because like people are, oh, that champagne got close to the top. Thrill of my morning. Sorry, had to comment for the non-Patreon users. The reason my profile is obscure where it is, you better set that. Oh,
It's yours. I'm not putting
that
my
was
mouth on it.
very talented.
We're
of
still in
you.
COVID.
That's fair. That's fair. It's because people are creepy as hell.
Hmm.
Back when I was on Bumble 3+ years ago, I had what I do, like my job and where I worked on my profile,
Hmm.
and someone brought me lunch at work. Remember that?
Oh my God, I do remember
And
that.
it was a very kind gesture, and we had been talking. It wasn't just someone I hadn't matched with,
Hmm.
but
Yikes, that's
But he didn't.
creepy.
It was creepy because it wasn't even like he like picked up a salad or like grabbed a. He made a quesadilla at home and then brought it to me, which again, very kind gesture, but
Oh my
like
God.
so creepy at the same time.
That is
I
super
never want
creepy.
that to happen again.
No.
So Kanan and I did an episode early in, was it maybe like episode 2 or 3 or something really early in, where we talked about like the whole John Cusack moment of holding the boombox outside your window.
Mhm.
And like people watch movies where they get
And
these ideas.
romanticize that.
Yeah. And think like this is what every woman wants. And
Yeah.
then you have the women who are also saying at the same time, like, I want that. But what
But
the
after I know
caveat
you.
they're leaving out is only if I like you,
Exactly.
only if it's
Yeah.
warranted.
I feel like again, and I keep harping on this in other shows, but I feel like movies and television has done a lot of damage to dating and the way guys approach women. Like they made it okay. Like we were watching something recently, and it's actually a new show. Oh, Never Have I Ever on Netflix.
Yep.
Love the show. But
Mindy
there's this
Kaling show.
yeah, it's an
Yep.
awesome show. And I love how they like approach dating and relationships in that show for it. Anyway, but there's one character in particular in that show where they're playing up his nerdiness and he does the creepiest things to girls. Now, if you're like a guy who's kind of unaware and you're watching this, you think, oh, that's okay. Because in the end, he got a girlfriend. So now you're giving men this idea that, oh, I can go and like steal her something and then give it back to her later and she's going to think it's romantic. No, that is creepy, and I don't understand why or how men have gotten to this place where doing these kind of voyeuristic actions or just approaching things like that, it's okay, and it's never okay. It's like there's the thing about consent. I mean, at least know the person first, which you were mentioning earlier that you're afraid of getting murdered. That's a little serious, but I just wanted to ask you, is that seriously a thought that you have all the time when it comes to like dating apps and stuff like that?
I mean, maybe not murder per se, but safety while dating is a huge concern. Yeah, I think I have found myself in situations that I would love to have avoided and want to prevent in the future. So I feel like I am like hyper cautious about that. And I think something, I know exactly which character you're talking about in the show too. Um, the thing, just to add on to what you said, I feel like in my 20s, maybe I didn't have the language, or especially in high school, didn't have the language to say, hey, what you're doing makes me really uncomfortable. I don't like that. Like, please don't do that. And instead,
Yeah.
here are other ways in which you can show me you care or show me you're interested.
Mhm.
Now that I'm in my 30s, I feel like I have a much stronger and more confident grasp on that language to be able to shut it down as soon as I see it or feel it.
Mhm.
And that just makes me anxious for just younger women who are getting on the scene and navigating this for the first time, or have been in a relationship for 8 years and
Mhm.
don't know how to date and like have never really been put in these scenarios. Because especially if you're a person who's like very trusting and very patient and very kind, and honestly being,
Mhm.
I don't want to say a woman, but I feel like I was raised to be very polite. I don't want to hurt people's feelings. And I will prevent making other people feel uncomfortable at a detriment to myself.
Yeah.
I just had this conversation last night with a bunch of people about how women are raised to be polite.
Yeah.
And it's slightly problematic for men because
Yeah.
we are being too polite. I don't want to hurt his feelings. And we're not being taught how to be assertive.
Yes.
Because when it comes to communication, there's this misunderstanding of being aggressive versus being assertive, right? Aggressive is like, don't fucking touch me. That's aggressive.
Yeah.
But assertive is just simply saying, I don't like when I'm touched. If you really want to show me affection, I appreciate it if you do X, Y, and Z instead. Like, that's being assertive. And most people are very responsive to assertive communication because really, what can you argue with? Like, you're sticking to how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And it's all about, coming from your point of view.
Yeah.
But yes, women are really raised from a young age to be polite to their elders, to,
Mhm.
respect your elders and it's always polite, be ladylike. I mean, for the ones who can see me, I am certainly not sitting very ladylike right now. I should be sitting here with my legs crossed around my ankles
Mhm.
and off to the side and my hands in my lap and like.
Yeah, fuck that. Wait, sorry. Can I curse on this?
Of course you
Oh.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But that was a perfect reaction.
Yeah, no. It's
So,
fine.
Joan, what do you do to kind of, I guess, vet the guys before you actually go out on a date with them? Like, how do you approach that to make sure that you're
Mm.
picking at least guys that you feel safest with?
Um, yeah, that's a great question. And I think my initial response is just like gut feeling.
Okay.
I want to have like a solid connection, solid conversation first. And yet, I don't need to cover every single topic on the
Hmm.
planet before we meet in person. Like, if it
Hmm.
takes you over a week to ask me out, and now you're asking about my siblings and how I got to where I am at this point, I
It's like
said
you're
to a
doing a
guy the
loan
other day,
application.
yeah, and I said, like, oh, that's a really great question. And I feel like it would be easier to respond in person
Hmm.
Hint, hint.
versus over text.
Hmm.
And it was so bizarre because I don't think that he understood that I was being direct. I think he thought that, I don't want to presume to think what he thought, but he wrote, I'm going to call your bluff and ask you on a date. And
What
then
bluff?
that's
Oh,
what
well,
I
he
wrote.
read.
I was like, well, I definitely wasn't bluffing. I think now would probably be a great time to grab a drink and,
Yeah.
see if there is a connection in person, because nothing bugs me more. I mean, that's a lie. Things bug me more, but it's so frustrating to dedicate 2 or 3 weeks of texting only to finally meet in person and then like not have a connection with them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But honestly, I can totally suss out the vibe through text.
It's interesting that you say that because when it comes to online dating, so when it comes to dating in general, and I've talked about this quite often on the show, even on the videos that I've put up, and I can't get this point across enough. There are 3 things that you have to have for a really solid relationship: chemistry, compatibility, and connection. And the only one
Really like
that you can really get, and thank you.
Oh, good.
I should do this for a living.
3 C's. Should pay you for this.
I know. The only one that you can get on a dating app in the chat is compatibility. That is the only thing that you can get from that, which is fine because you do need it. But at the same time, you don't know if you have chemistry. And the problem is if you stay on the dating app too long chatting and then go on a date after, like you said, 2 or 3 weeks, you have now translated everything that person has texted you into a tone that you've made up for them,
Hmm.
to a personality you've made up for them. And you are going to be disappointed
Yeah.
because you made up this amazing person in your head. Because why would you make up some shithead?
Yeah.
And now you're on a date with the actual shithead.
Oh my God, you're so funny. I think for me, and honestly, this is a huge thing, probably for you for film as well, but in theater definitely, is setting expectations, right? So if you're setting that expectation to be something that's completely unachievable, you're going to be disappointed. But if I
Hmm.
set that expectation really low and all I want to do is be like pleasantly surprised by you, then we're in great shape.
Absolutely.
And how do you lower your expectations though? What is like the kind of bar that you set if you do go on a date like this?
Yeah, so, and maybe I said that wrong. I don't know that it's so much me lowering my expectations, but I think it's just not having a predetermined expectation of who they are and what they bring. And, just honestly going with the facts
Hmm.
and see where it goes from there. I'm all about, I've spent the morning here just talking about all the plants that live here because I'm a plant person, but I really am so invested in just seeing how things can grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any like deal breakers that you've ever experienced on a first date that you've added to your list as time has gone on where you're like, okay, if a guy does this, I am out the door, or
Yeah,
at
like
least I am
massive
not
red
returning his
flags.
texts?
I don't, okay, we can ease into red flags because that's for sure a very important topic. But I will say one thing on a first date. So, okay, we haven't met in person, but I'm 5 feet tall. And so a lot of people, a lot of guys who are short are so excited to see that I'm 5 feet tall if they are 5'6", 5'4", 5'8". You know what I mean? Like whatever. They're like, oh my God, that could look right.
Perfect.
You know? If someone says in their bio like 5'4", right? On Bumble you can say how tall you are. Some people choose not to write it, and that's always an interesting game to play. That's never a deal breaker for me. The deal breaker is you tell me you're 5'4" on the app. I go on a date with you. We stand up at the end of the date, and you've lied about the 5'4" part. Like, just be honest. Like, if you're
Yeah.
5'2", if we're actually very close, like that's just good for me to know.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'm in. Like, I'm happy to go on a date with you, especially if you're cute. We've got great chemistry. I think you're
Mm-hmm.
smart. You make me laugh. But don't lie to me.
Right.
Yeah, man, should stop
Don't
lying
lie to
about
me.
numbers. I don't get that.
Oh my gosh, which makes me jump to like a topic, but it's okay. When they lie about their age.
Oh yeah.
Oh, age, penis size, and height.
Well, in fairness, I understand lying about the penis size. It's a sensitive
It's
topic.
dumb.
Like
But why would
women,
you lie if we're gonna find out? If we're gonna
Exactly.
find out anyway?
it is no different than women taking selfies with the camera so high that they look skinny, and then in person you're like, honey, you're not that skinny and your boobs aren't that big.
Or the girls with all these filters. Like, they don't post
Right.
any fucking photos without those goddamn, I'm sorry, dang, like Bambi filters or like TikTok filters or it's anyway. But yeah,
But the age one kills me
yeah.
because they're doing it so they fall into a younger pool.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that until you mentioned that last week when we were just chatting. I didn't realize that, like, okay, so some women are gonna say that their ideal age bracket is 32 to 40, but if they're 42,
Mhm.
they're out of that
Right.
bracket, so they lie about being 2 years younger.
Yes.
That is so
Yes.
funny to me because I just want someone who's like got their shit together. I don't care if you're 42. Like, that's great for me.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to think what my actual
But you're also a very
bracket is.
mature and self-aware adult, and
you so much.
nothing. I'm not saying that most women or most men on dating apps aren't. I'm definitely not saying that. But
Mm-hmm.
there is an assumption that people make, and I've seen women do this too. Don't get me wrong. I've seen both sides of this, but men do it a lot more often than women do, where they push down to 39 if they're 40, like
Yeah,
someone we
because they
know.
all want a 25-year-old. They all want to be Leonardo
Exactly.
DiCaprio.
But it's an entitlement as well. There's entitlement that goes behind that of I am entitled to somebody that I want. Who
Mm,
cares?
Versus who wants me.
Right.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds about.
Which is why there's a lot of single, sometimes older people, because they're holding out for this idea that I'm supposed to be with this young, hot thing, whether it's a male or a female sometimes, instead
Mhm.
of just for the best partner. Because I remember even as a gay person, when I first came out, there's so much emphasis on looks. Like, even as I age, there's still like, oh, you're over the age of 30 now. Good luck. I mean, luckily I'm married. I'm happily married to my husband. And honestly, every day I'm like, how did I get him? But I'm still like, there's still so much emphasis on looks and sex appeal. And it's a detriment to so many happy relationships because everybody just wants to look good on paper instead of actually being in a good, solid, healthy relationship. I feel like, I don't know if you deal with that as well. There's so much pressure for you to look a certain way, but there's definitely that going on in the gay world, which leads to a lot of people being single, I feel like.
We live in the post Instagram world where
Yeah.
you want it to be picture perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's not, you edit and retouch your photos so that it is. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you, okay, so as far as pictures go, I know you're a photographer. Well, you do photography sometimes for your friends. You take really awesome photos.
I told them about you.
Okay,
Yeah.
just because I took Andrea's headshots one time does not make me a photographer. I actually have a lot of very talented photographer friends, but
Mhm.
I'm decent with the camera.
Okay.
They were beautiful. Like I got so many compliments on them when she first did them.
Because you are beautiful.
Aw, but
Aww,
you
you had
are,
to be
Andrea.
shipping.
But I was
yeah.
gonna ask you, what are some of, do you have any ideas? Like what appeals most to you about pictures that if you're on a dating app? Like if you see a picture of a guy, like what are you looking for? Like, because we talked about it briefly earlier about the pictures we don't want to really see. Well, what kind of attracts you sometimes? Is it like, is it physical? Is it the way he is? It the personality in his face? Like what do you feel most attracts you?
That is a great question. I feel like I have like personally struggled with such physical like self-esteem, self-image issues that I
Hmm.
never want to hold that against anyone else. I
Okay.
think what I'm looking for is someone who is enjoying their life, like who
Hmm.
feels comfortable and confident in their environment. I will take a half open mouth laughing shot and
Hmm.
seeing someone like truly in their joy
Yeah.
over some like, really buttoned up suit and
Schmarmy.
professional,
Yeah.
looking
Or
looking
trying to
photo.
be cool.
Yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
because I think what I'm looking for is just someone who I can like really have fun with, have a good
Hmm.
time with, and oh, I mean, I could go really dark with this. I think so
Ooh,
many
do.
times. Do you really want me to?
Yeah.
How you've been filling this
Yeah, I've been
champagne? Oh,
refilling.
I haven't even noticed. I feel like often I've been the anchor in relationships to where I obviously make myself very happy. I love what I do. I surround myself with things that I love so that I can be a happy person. That said, I struggle with a lot of all of the other things as well. But I have been an anchor for other people and their happiness, and that is not something that I want to do anymore. I don't want to be the kind of partner that is like responsible for your happiness, that I have to pull you out of the well
Yeah.
after you've pulled me down there with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think going back to photos, I think anything that makes me smile while looking at it,
Hmm.
that makes me laugh out loud while I'm looking at you in a photo of you laughing out loud, presumably, like that's what I'm going for.
Yeah, I would agree. If I mean, just looking at like friends' photos sometimes, because we live in a world, like you said before, everything is put through a filter and stuff. And honestly, when you see someone just enjoying something, like I have a friend who likes Disney stuff, and people are always telling him, "Oh, you shouldn't really talk about, you shouldn't really show that, if you want a girl." And it's like, look, you like Disney. Plenty of women like Disney. Just be yourself. Who gives a shit? No one
Is
really
he
cares. If
single?
you're happy, yeah.
We know someone.
We know it
We
like
Yeah, we can't. We can't
We won't
share
say.
names
we can't share
because
days, but he loves it, and I'm just like, if it makes you happy, then it can't be that bad. Isn't that a
Well,
song by Sheryl Crow or something?
if you're going to get into a relationship where you can be yourself and
Hmm.
be with a partner who celebrates you for who you are, why would you shut that off at the
Exactly.
get-go? Like, I don't know, be upfront.
so
Yeah.
you cannot be held responsible for anyone's happiness. Happiness has to come from within you first because what you give is what you receive. And if you can't give happiness and joy to another person, then you're not going to get it back.
Yeah.
Because when we're in a relationship, your partner is a reflection of who you are. So
Hmm.
when you are with a person that becomes depressed or just starts to hit rock bottom, it starts to become a reflection for you and you start to take it on versus the other way around of saying like, I'm sorry you're in a really dark place right now. I'm going to stay in this very joyful place and hope that I can bring you back up. But we tend to kind of drop down with our partners because we feel bad.
Well, especially depending on where you are on the empath scale, right?
Hmm.
For someone who really cannot prevent going down that whirlpool with you, you're fucked.
Right.
Which I have experience with. So I feel like, at the very least, my years of serial monogamy as well as dating has brought me some enough self-awareness to the point where I can recognize that now. And that's actually what happened in my last relationship and why I think it ended, or why I'm so grateful that I ended it when I did, right? Was because I was recognizing these patterns that I had seen in previous relationships. And instead of taking me 6 years to end it, it only took me 2 years. And I think that's progress.
That
That is
is progress.
progress.
It is definitely progress, especially for Joan.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So let me ask you this, because, you live now in a small town and, you came from a big city, and dating in a big city is very different than dating in a small town where when something ends, it ends. You never
Mhm.
see them again. It's
Yep.
right. But now here we are in a small town, and we run the risk of friends matching with the ex on dating apps.
Mhm.
I wasn't gonna go there, but I had to go here.
That's fair. Because this is actually funny.
So yeah, and I'm gonna share the story because, for one, I don't think he listens anyways, and if he does, serves him right. So this happens in this small town where you break up with someone, they go back on dating apps, and rightfully so. That is what we are meant to do. So there's nothing against that. But then your friend gets on Bumble and says, "Isn't this your ex?" And they match.
I go, was this his name? And this the profession? And we
Uh-huh.
both go, oh.
And so it becomes extremely awkward.
Well, to be fair, I only matched just to social experiment.
Yeah. But there is a question here, I promise. What has been your experience with navigating that realm of people, either you matching with friends' exes or people they've dated or slept with, and vice versa? And the pressure of thinking, I've been in a relationship with someone and now one of my friends could potentially match with them as well,
Yeah.
or someone that you've just casually dated.
Yeah. So that, is the sliding scale of feeling awful, right? Like it's really not a big deal, but also it could be just complete and utter heartbreak. And the situation, the former that you mentioned, that only happened with you. And I think because we're so close and I already knew about it, and only matched just to see, I don't know, I think we were just curious to see what he would say. And I think, oh yeah, I'm going to try to be.
Let me give you an example.
No, well, here,
how about cowboy?
Oh, that's
so
funny.
we name the guy so that no one is being called out on the show if they're listening. We give fake names to people.
Yeah,
women do that
for a while.
So, like, say for example, because no one ever met Cowboy.
Right.
And what if one of your friends matched with him, not realizing who he was?
I would say that's just the way the game goes. Like that's how the cookie crumbles. I mean, I think for me, the best thing that I can do for myself or anyone is just to be confident in your choices, right? So I chose not to pursue that and I chose to date someone instead. And so he's up for grabs. Like that's just how that goes. And if someone finds him to be a better match for them, then of course I would want that for them. I think the trickier part is when you're in a serious relationship or you have lived with that person or something like that. But honestly, of all the feelings, I think you just need to be so confident in why you did the things that you did, why you chose the path you chose. And for me, it was a very conscious decision this last step. And it might suck to see him with other people, or it might feel very confusing and manipulative when he says, "Oh, I miss you so much," and then is clearly not missing you that much. But the only thing that I can go back to is to say, okay, do you remember how relieved you felt when this was over? Okay, look how much you've been living your life to the fullest extent and like enjoying it so much more than you were with this person. You know, like I think you just have to be firm in your choices. Now, if you are in an opposite situation where that wasn't your choice and you got broken up with, I think you just need to carry on with the knowledge that you are freaking phenomenal and that person didn't deserve you and the next person
Yeah.
hopefully will.
I know
Absolutely.
it's a little tricky, that whole thing, because my ex, my first partner, we basically by the end of our relationship, we had bought a house together, or I bought the house. He was on the thing with the title with it. Anyway, so we go through all this, we go through his mother dying and all this stuff, and he ends up with someone else. And that hurts in a way. So if that were my friend and he ended up with one of my friends, it would hurt even more. But you kind of just want your relationships to be successful, and when they're not, sometimes it still hurts. You kind of feel like, you take it kind of personal. And if it's a close friend or someone that that ends up with the person, it feels even, it hurts even more, because you feel like it's a personal attack. But really, at the end of the day, it's like we all just kind of want love, and we want to know that our choices kind of somewhat make sense. And when all that stuff happens, it just, I don't know, we just are left feeling so weird about it. But I have a question: how many single men is in slow? Like, there must not be a whole hell of a lot.
Oh, I don't know. I feels like there's a lot on Bumble, but I'm also working my way very slowly through that app. It seems like
There's quite a few.
I would say half of them are just single men, and the other
Mm-hmm.
half are either, have been married or have kids.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like there's still a solid
Ooh,
wall.
would you date a guy that has an ex with kids? Like,
That's not a deal breaker for me because I
no?
think no.
Okay.
I think I'm like sinking into this couch.
Is that what's happening?
Yeah, I need another
For those who can't see what's happening.
5 foot Joan is sinking into the what do we call those? Like the sand
Seat
pits?
cushion? Oh.
Yeah, that's not a deal breaker for me because to me that says like, oh, you grew up. Like at some point you either had to had to get married or had to be a parent, and that shows some maturity to me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm at the point now, I just turned 34. um
Wow, you look super young. You look, you're like 25 or something.
I thank you.
Yeah.
I will.
She's still young.
Yeah, that's nice of you to say. um can I get personal on this?
You can get as personal as you want.
So, okay, let's just no, do not add any more champagne by all means. Okay, so in my mid 20s, yep, I had to have this procedure for cervical cancer where they removed um, a little less than half of my cervix because there was cancer in 2 spots. And what that meant was that if I ever did get pregnant, it was going to be automatically a high risk pregnancy. So, as you can imagine, I mean, I think I'm already a very, not picky, but maybe particular person as far as partners go. Again, I stay with them for a very long amount of time. But of the marriage proposals I've gotten, I have said yes to none of them
Mhm.
because I think that's for me, you better be like the absolute perfect match in order for me to go through the whole thing of like having a wedding, even though I don't
Yeah,
really want a wedding.
because you really don't want to go through a divorce, I don't think. That seems like so extra.
Yeah. And then also, if I'm going to have a high risk pregnancy, you better be the best partner and want that kid so much to
Mm-hmm.
where I don't have to worry about your level of commitment
Right.
or
Yeah.
your
I mean, God forbid you have to be in the bed for a majority of the time. You need to know that your partner can be there for you, and not just get up and go to, like, the sports bar so he can get some stress off his chest or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
what I'm looking for is like real partnership.
Yeah.
But as I've kind of, you know, now stretched into my mid 30s, I feel like, and I've never felt pressure from myself or from my parents or family, never felt pressure to get married, never felt pressure to have kids.
Hmm.
But I do sort of now kind of feel like my window is closing on
Hmm.
those things. And yes, I know women get pregnant at 38 and they get pregnant at 42. But like
Hmm.
I'm like really tired already because I do it now. I don't know, like, so obviously there's a lot of factors all to come around really far and then come back around to if someone already has a kid that they love and have raised to be an awesome kid, that's not a deal breaker for me. Because truthfully,
Kind of a perk for
I
you.
would be a great mom,
You would.
like super fun.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So,
Like you would be okay just being a stepmom. That would be perfectly fine.
I think if that's the way my life plays out, I wouldn't be mad about it.
Mm.
I
That's an
think,
awesome way to look at it because some people are so married to the thought of having, I mean, I get it. The experience I mean, it's a once in a lifetime or a few in a lifetime experience, but I mean, it's an experience I know a lot of, or some women want to have, but to be open to that, that's quite nice because, there are a lot of kids out there that are missing like, that kind of maternal parenting because, their mom is just not there. But for you to want that and be open to it, that's awesome. Because my husband is adopted, and to this day, his mother has had the most impact on him. And he wasn't a step parent, but they weren't his biological, and it really had an impact on him as a kid. You can change someone's life. Oh, let me not just sell you on like being an adoptive parent or something like that. I feel like I'm
No,
a
but that is a
spokesperson.
big issue when you are talking about getting on a dating app when you are in your 30s, 40s. It changes for 50s and 60s usually, but 30s and 40s, at that point, the probability of someone being divorced goes up
Hmm.
and the probability of them having children also goes up. And
Hmm.
how open are you to having a partner who has had a family already?
Hmm.
yeah.
It's very common. You
Yeah.
also run into the men who are in their 40s, and this is part of the reason why some of them lie about their age, is because they still want to have a family. And while,
Hmm.
yes, men can have children until they're dead,
Hmm.
ultimately, um, women do have windows of time where it is safe and we are able to have children and carry out a full-term pregnancy. So
Hmm.
yes, you do run into a lot of that on dating sites as you get a little bit older.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and I think kind of circling back to what you said earlier was like, what are you? Oh God, I've lost my train of thought. But it was essentially like, nope, lost it.
We've gotten too serious. That's what happened.
Oh
I need
yeah,
to
that
refill her
happens.
glass.
Well, let's do this. What do you have any traditions about love that you still follow, that still follow you to this day that you want to be able to uphold in your life?
Traditions about
Hmm.
love.
Yeah.
Yeah, like traditions, I'll give you an example from like my tradition, right? When I was a child, I thought I don't ever want to get divorced because my parents were divorced and my mom had been divorced multiple times.
Hmm.
And so I don't want to get divorced. But then my parents got divorced and I'm probably about like, I don't know, 9 years old and sitting there realizing they have the best friendship.
Mm.
Like, not everyone can say that about their divorced parents. I was very blessed to have divorced parents because they were a nightmare together.
Hmm.
Two hot tempered Italians living in the same house was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I let go of the traditional thinking of, I don't ever want to get divorced. So I'm okay with the idea of if I get married and something happens and we grow apart and we have to get divorced, like it's doable. But there are a lot of people out there that are like, no, I don't
Hmm.
ever want to get divorced. I will do what I have to stay married.
yeah, I think it's all about priorities. Like it's prioritizing, especially if you have kids, God, right? Their well-being. But I'm also never going to stay in something that doesn't make me not just happy. I think it's so much more than just like being happy. Um but something that's like not good for you. Like it's not like a part of what's making you like a healthy, functioning human being. I've never wanted to stay in anything where, I mean, like, why would you want to stay in anything where someone also doesn't want you back? And I think that was something that the tangent before was like, you know, you'll hear there's TV shows about like people who are like tricking men into staying and like getting pregnant so that they can have that family. Like, and I have girlfriends who like, they wanted to be married, they wanted to be a mom, and they do. They are married and they have 2 to 3 kids right now. That was just never something that was a priority to me. So I never made it happen. And a
So
lot
you
of those
consider
people,
yourself non-traditional.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Honestly, I think it just needs to come down to like an authentic, genuine love. Like
Yeah.
I don't want something where someone doesn't want me. I don't need to convince you to, I am so great. And it's taken me ages to even be able to say, like, wow, I'm amazing.
Yeah.
When I actually said that in a text last night, I was trying to work out some feelings and things. And he says, no, you're amazing. Da, 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 da. And I go,
Yeah. I
I
mean, you kind
know.
of have to think that because, if you don't, who will? You can't rely on the partner.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can't rely on a partner to like be all of those things for you
Hmm.
either.
Yeah, for sure. What is your love language?
Oh my God, that's so funny because I was thinking about that this morning. I have never taken the love language test officially. I think because I'm
Oh,
very hesitant to see what it says, but I will say,
Why?
someone this morning, remember when I told you that guy, I responded with the 100 emoji to the
hmm,
comment about the office. He replied with, because I propagate plants. I really love watching things grow. And I mentioned that on my profile as like a hobby or a practice. And he says, how about this? That's all, like, that's what he starts with. How about this for a first date? We go to Home Depot. We snip cuttings off plants. I hear that anything that hits the floor is fair game. Like that's his idea for a first date.
that is awesome.
I like this guy for you.
I responded with, I've never taken the test, but I'm pretty sure plant clippings is my love language.
So we could say your love language is entertaining your hobbies and the things that you love.
It's not a love language, but
Yeah, I mean, what are the options?
Okay,
You
yeah.
got them?
of course I do.
Of course
Come
I
on,
do.
girl.
Silly question.
Physical touch, which I know is not your love language. I could probably tell her love language, but we'll go through them anyways.
so
So there's
funny.
physical
I
touch.
think at a certain level, I'm okay.
Well,
never
everyone
mind,
has all
continue.
of them to some degree.
Okay.
It's just your go-to, right?
Yeah.
So there's physical touch, quality of time, acts of service, gifts, and words of affirmation.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I'm 50-50 on 2 of those.
I know.
What do you think?
I think you need words of affirmation for sure.
Yeah.
But I think you need quality time.
Oh, I was going to say acts of service. But I think quality time is good. But also leave me alone. Like I'm okay if you're doing your own thing and I'm doing my own thing.
Right, but that's not the definition of quality time.
Oh, that's
quality time.
Quality time is the plant clippings at Home Depot.
Yes, that's exactly why I said quality of time.
Oh, interesting.
Because that's what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's spending quality time. The quality time means we are engaged in activities that we are both enjoying. You're not on your phone. We're not doing something stupid. We're spending time together that means something to both of us. And that's that plant clipping.
Yeah.
The affirmation has me feeling a little funny because it makes me feel just off the cuff, like a little vain that I would need someone to affirm things. But what I will say,
There's nothing wrong with that.
well,
No.
and I want to acknowledge that there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the feeling that's bubbling up for me. But I will say so the first date that I went on, my first of 3 last week, the first Bumble date that I went on, he was so complimentary and so more complimentary than my ex was in 2 years, I would say, in 2 days, which also made me very uncomfortable.
Was he love bombing? That's
I mean,
different.
I think so.
It's a little annoying.
Yeah, that's
oh my
not
God,
words of affirmation.
It became really annoying, but initially I was like, oh my gosh, that is really nice to hear. And then it got really old really fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a big difference between love bombing and words of affirmation.
Yeah. Since re-entering the dating world, I've now come to know love bombing, ghosting, obviously. There's a few more. There's a few like dating specific, funny little
Terminology.
idioms where it's just like, oh yeah, that is what that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Situationships, negging.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I mean, we can go on, and I could sit here all day telling you what they all are. I don't want to do that.
What's
but
nagging again?
It's where you approach with a negative comment, right?
Oh,
backhanded compliment.
okay.
Oh my gosh, you would be so pretty if you did this.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Why are you still single? You're so beautiful.
oh yeah,
Oh my
that's a funny
God.
question.
That comes up a lot for women on dating apps. Like, I don't understand why you're still single.
Men are really good at backhanded compliments, I must say. It's like it's their special power. Maybe it goes along with the mansplaining.
Yeah.
And the peacocking.
Oh God, peacocking. I mean, we could just sit here all day and like go on about all these wonderfully annoying things that people do to try flirt, which is not real flirting, which is a whole nother episode in itself anyways. But yeah, your love language is important to understand for the fact that I know how I feel loved, and I'm okay with asking for my partner to, show me that love. And a lot of times when it comes to the 5 love languages, more often than not, gifts ends up at the bottom of everyone's list, even though it's not really at the bottom. It's simply just because people feel like they're being shallow if they say, I love when my partner gives me gifts. It's okay. You can own it. So, for all of you people who are listening right now, own that shit. If you like your partner to give you gifts, it doesn't have to be jewelry. It doesn't have to be Cuban cigars for the guy. It doesn't have to be fancy, but like little things. If you know your partner loves a certain chocolate, for example, get them that chocolate that day and just be like, hey, I was at the store and I saw this and I picked it up for you. That is a gift.
Yeah. Thoughtful gift.
It's that simple.
It's like you were thinking of them and I saw this and it instantly made me think of you. You know what? People want to be made to feel that they're being thought of. I mean, hello.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'll have to find out what my like the love language that I want people to show me is. But I would say that my love language, showing my love to other people, is probably acts of service.
Absolutely.
And plant clippings.
Yeah.
Well, gifts.
Yeah. Well, on that note, this has been a fantastic first brunch talk. We've got a little tipsy and shared some thoughts and feelings along the way.
Absolutely.
So,
reminder to all of our listeners, if you want to be on the show or if you want us to answer any of your questions or address a concern, it's anonymous, but let us know what your thoughts are at datesmartersexier@gmail.com or find us on any of the gazillion social media platforms that we are now on, or subscribe to us on Patreon. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Nailed it.
Sweet.
I love that you're taking like by request.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, we have to expand far and wide. We are trying to help the world have better relationships.
Yes, our goal
Yeah.
here is, and I know a lot of the advice that we give is generalized. So if you're
Hmm.
listening and you're thinking right now, well, that doesn't apply to me, of course
And it
not.
does.
Like, not everything we say is going to apply to everyone because everyone is
Yeah.
an individual at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But a lot of the tips that we give and a lot of the advice that we share is generalized, and a lot of it comes from statistical information that's
Yeah.
gathered from dating sites, from other experts in the field. So, yes, so please keep listening to us.
It also just feels like a combination of like personal growth and personal development and
Yeah.
like nurturing healthy relationships.
Yeah. That's
At
what
the
it
end
really
of the
comes
day,
down
that's what we
to.
want. Mhm.
Yeah, because
That's
the
like what
happier we all are, I feel like that the happier we all are with ourselves, then we can be happy with everyone else. Friendships, family, and ultimately love relationships. Because until we fix ourselves, we're going to continue with the divorce rates. We're going to continue hopping from relationship to relationship to relationship, or just all become sex addicts and just, have superficial relationships where we're only looking at people for a physical need and that's it. And I feel like that's where we're going unless we really like take a look at ourselves and just really enjoy being and doing what makes us happy and finding people that feel the same damn way. Right?
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Well, I would like to say thank you, Joan, for being on today. It was nice
Thank you for
having
having
you.
me.
This
Yeah.
has been
Fun.
so much fun. And to all of our listeners out there, until next time.
Until next time.
And this is where we usually go into our after show.
Do you do an after show?
Oh, absolutely. So
For
we
the
keep,
Patreon people?
yeah, we keep recording for our Patreon
Mhm.
subscribers.
Good to know.
And this is where
Yeah.
we get like raw.
Yeah. We don't like to go over an hour when we're like on a regular show.
Right. So
How
like
long did we go?
we went a little,
It's
no,
just like a little under an hour. Yeah. I think
because
it's
we did
around.
our pre-show and Kanan is great at like editing out stupid shit.
So you also take out where I was like, oh, what was I saying? The train of thought gone.
Probably.
It was gonna be good.
No, that can stay in because you just lost the train of thought. I mean, you are having champagne.
True, and I didn't even realize it was being refilled. Get away from my glass.
Really?
Nah, fill it
Okay.
up.
I'm like, wait, for real?
What do you two have planned for the rest of the day up in Slow?
I specifically made no plans.
Okay.
Actually, I have a ton of propagating to do, but I did not schedule a date, which was the other option.
So I am stealing a chair from my mom's office, and hopefully none of her employees listen to this. Actually, I know they do, but whatever. Now they know. So my desk chair is actually a chair that my ex, I almost said his name, my ex gave me.
So you need to replace
And I appreciate it because he gave me a lot of beautiful things when we were together. Like, speaking of gift giving, but the chair itself, I can't. I just can't. So
What's wrong with
we're
it?
gonna swap it out, and I'm gonna take a desk chair from her office and give them mine.
But wait, what's wrong with the chair? Is it just the memory of him, or is the chair just a shitty chair?
I mean, the chair is okay, but like the way that the arms work, it doesn't work for like my back issues. So there are actual issues. My computer that I got from him still has his name on it. So anyone who understands how Apple products work, and I think you both do,
Yep,
right?
I still got that on.
So the
my screen
home,
too.
yeah, I can't get rid of
I
it.
can't
I
get
don't
rid of
know
it.
how to change
I
it.
know, and he would be the person to ask too.
Wait, the home what? Where
You know the
like
little
first...
home icon?
Where you like click your name to type in your password when you like
Okay.
restart the computer. Apparently,
Okay, so
still have
I know you go into preferences, and if from preferences you go down to where is
I'm using
it?
it right now.
Users and groups. I don't know if you want to do that right now, but we're recording, so you can always listen to it later.
Well, it's on my desktop upstairs.
Yeah, you go into users and groups, and when you go into users and groups, you unclick the little padlock, and that's where you can edit the names and get rid of names.
I thought so. That's what I did.
So mine is a little different. So when I log in, it has my name because he wiped the computer. So he reset it to factory settings. This is the crazy part. And it's my name when I log in now. And he set all of that up for me. but whenever I go into, say, for example, iMovie, and I need to download something out of the little home, it still says his fucking name, and I have to see it every single time. And I'm just like, God damn it, go away.
That's my Spectrum bill. It
Mm.
still has his name on it, even though I spent an hour on the phone with customer service. Even though we changed it over to my name, I still get emails. Hello,
So and
so. And I'm like, motherfucker, why?
Well, they make it hard to get over
frustrating.
an ex. So it's like, how long should you wait before you actually start to put things in each other's name? Like, if you're like just dating, should you wait longer to do that? Because if this is
They
obviously,
live
We were
together.
living together at the time.
oh, like 2 years.
And
Was it
all
the
of that
2 year or
was
the 6
expedited.
year?
I mean, he moved into my place after 5 months
Mm.
because the owners of the house where he was renting were selling. He had to move. Like there was a whole.
So he pressured you into moving in?
He suggested it,
Well, it wasn't
and
pressure.
I thought, well, I guess if we're gonna find out sooner or later, we might as well find out sooner. And if it ends, it'll only be after 2 years and not 6 years like the last time.
Yeah.
So it was an experiment, and then after that, because obviously everything was in my name at my apartment, we wanted a bigger place because my place was just not big enough for both of us. I mean, it was, but he required more space. And
Wow.
so we moved. And when we moved, he insisted on putting everything in his name.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I asked him to move out, I had to transfer everything to my name.
Wait. He insisted everything be put in his name. Who was actually paying the bills?
We were splitting them.
But he wanted everything in just his name?
Yeah. Well, because, on like energy, water, internet, there's no space for two names. There's like one owner on the account. So everything was his name. And some of those accounts, like you just end and then you start a new one.
Yeah.
Right.
But for something like internet, apparently that's not the case. And
Wow.
I know.
I feel like the audacity.
I don't know. Therapy.
I love that.
Big fan.
Spectrum, you owe me some therapy now.
Yeah.
Well,
They
you
owe
owe me
you-
therapy.
They actually owe you. You should actually sue your cable company for emotional distress. Because
I
every
love
time
that.
you have to see that, you just go into a spiral and you just become depressed for like a week. And you're like, you can't take it anymore.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's the trigger.
It's the trigger.
That's the trigger.
Honestly.
No, but it is those small things that like you
I just
see
stopped
it.
opening the email because I know it's automatic, automatic payment. So I just stopped opening.
I still have jewelry from an ex where sometimes I look at it, I'm like, ugh, I should have thrown that away, but it's so pretty. I might wear it. Who knows?
I have promise rings from like
You
men.
got promise rings?
Oh my God, in my 20s, it was all about the fucking promise rings.
I don't know how I feel
Oh my
about this.
God.
With like these little mini diamonds. And I found them the other day in a jewelry box, and I was like, "Oh my God, I kept these. Why? I don't know. I guess I'll keep them for whatever reason." But I had two of them in there, and I forgot I even had two.
Promise rings. What was the promise?
Promise
committed?
to get engaged. It was kind of like an old tradition that you give a promise ring, and then you would get engaged and
I
then
feel
get
like that
married.
was like, oh, never mind. I'm thinking of, I mean, I know what a promise ring is, but I was also having icky feelings about, what do we call that? The purity ring.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of for some weird reason.
No.
Purity. I mean, I know, obviously, I know that it's not what you were.
I was like, have you two met
what
me?
you were dealing with, but it just made me think of. I mean, I know what a promise ring is. It just made me think of the purity ring as well. And what a weird culture we are in, to where we like give each other rings to like
Seal the deal.
Yeah.
Pre-seal the deal. Like it's not even the ring; it's like a pre-ring.
Okay, so do you like Disney?
Some weird ownership.
What?
Shit.
Do you like Joan? Do you like Disney? Like, are you a big Disney fan?
Like I will sing it at karaoke. Yeah.
Oh, but not big enough where you have.
Where the
Okay.
people are. Go on.
Do you find some things that guys do cheesy like that? Like I personally think like they've been conditioned to do these weird ass things, but honestly, they're fucking cheesy. It's like here's this ring. I promise that I will like only date you for at least the next 24 months. Like are you into any of that at all? Or
No,
do you
like that literally means nothing to me. You do that shit, and I've already ended it.
oh
Like,
my God.
I mean, I also don't think that I would find myself in a relationship with someone who would think that that would be something that I would want.
It's so
But
weird.
yeah, no part of that sounds good to me.
Oh my
Hey, in
God.
fairness, these promise rings from when I was like 20 and like 21. So like I was a young chick.
Where did you where do you think people learn about this from? Like where did you learn about? Is it just like
I think it was their parents, to be honest.
Do you think it's religion too?
I think it's slightly religion. I think
okay.
it is also what they're taught. So, the one guy that gave me a promise ring that we were supposed to get engaged and get married, and I'm so glad we didn't. But it was more of a like, he reached out to his parents and we were like, I can't afford an engagement ring at this point.
Okay, how long had you been dating?
A couple years.
Okay.
And it got to the point in our relationship where we were like breaking up, getting back together. It was very toxic. And then my dad died, and I was only 19 at this point. And so it was really the first real solid relationship I had known. I loved his family. I would have married his family.
Oh yeah, I've had a bunch of those.
Right.
Where I'm still close with the family.
Oh my God.
Well, my problem is I date really nice guys for the most part. Like I date really great guys. So I am still friends with them and their families. Like their families are our close family friends. But then there are, one or two where yeah, it's just toxic, or it's that like crazy twin flame, chemistry where it's just like, nope, this just needs to be entirely severed. Cut the cord and cannot revisit.
I date assholes.
Oh.
That's my tendency.
I'm so sad.
Even my most recent ex, like Joe knows, like he's a dipshit. But like I loved his sister, I love his family, and like I didn't get to know the rest of his family well enough, but like I still keep in touch with his sister because she's amazing. But
well, that's fine. As long as you're ending the relationship when it should be ended. Because my problem was I would date these really nice guys, and I would come to learn like, oh, we really shouldn't be in a romantic relationship. We're just actually best friends.
Yeah.
And then I would stay in the relationship for another year or so. And then
how does it feel being friends with guys though? Like, especially if you've dated them once, is that easy or is it hard? Like, is it once you friend zone a guy, like, do you only see them as someone that you may, I don't know, see at a party? Because you're not really going out together anymore.
So the two guys that I'm thinking of are two of my best friends. One of them is one of my best friends. And I think we only ever even started dating out of convenience. Like obviously we had similar interests. We were in the same program. We were very compatible. It was super fun to live together, but it wasn't like the most romantic love connection-y relationship of my life. So no, so once I kind of came to that realization and said, okay, well, I'm gonna take my life over here and go do these things, and you're going there and doing those things, like now is the time to end this. There's probably a year of interesting in between downtime where we're trying to figure out who we are to each other. But then after that, no, best friends. And even my high school boyfriend who, oh gosh, at one point I think he even cheated on me, where it was just not good. And then we got back together. I mean, it was on and off for 4 years, but he's such a good dude now, and really grew to be a good man. Love that guy. We're still super close. I love the girl that he's with now. And no, so to me, I think it's funny because I think that if you ask both of them, they would say, and I've heard at least one of them say, oh, this is Joan, she's my ex-girlfriend, but we're really close. And I will much sooner say, oh, this is so-and-so, one of my best friends. And I will probably not even include the fact that we dated,
Right.
even though we lived together or dated for multiple years.
Not always
Mhm.
important.
But would you ever feel like, let's say you're dating a guy and then you find out one of his female friends turns out that she is actually his ex and a long-term ex. Would you feel betrayed at all if you didn't know that ahead of time, or you really wouldn't care?
Well, that's a good question.
Mhm.
I mean, I think everyone's got a history. I think if they're being shady about it and like
Mhm.
specifically withholding, that's super sketch.
Yeah.
But if it's like not a big deal and it kind of comes up when it should come up,
Mhm.
then I get it. I guess it also depends how involved their relationship is too, you
Mhm.
know, or how you know how involved it was.
Yeah.
But
You
no, I mean, yeah.
you mentioned earlier, like at the top of the main show, about you don't put on your dating profile anymore that you work at the theater. Why? Like, what
It
were
was
you?
because that guy brought me lunch. I mean,
Oh, that was the main reason. Okay.
yeah, it
Okay.
was totally a safety thing. And honestly,
Okay.
and this is something that both of us do actually, is we both also don't put our names, like our full names.
Mhm.
So on my dating profile, it says Joe.
Okay.
And it's so funny when people are like, "Hey Joe, good morning." And I'm like, that's not my real name. But I usually reserve that information, which doesn't feel like it should be exclusive information, but people can be creeps.
Yeah.
And they can be
Mhm.
so, I mean, yeah, I don't trust people right off the bat with that much information, even though it's literally just my name. And my date, and instead of saying, you know, this is my job position at this specific place where I work, it just says creative director
Mm,
because I am,
Mhm.
right.
but also no one has any idea what a creative director does.
And you don't need to
or
know where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Social
key.
media makes it so easy to stalk people. I swear.
Yeah.
Way
I mean,
too
if they
easy.
really wanted to know, they could probably do a not too deep dive and find all of that out anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's kind of, I don't know, it's also been kind of maybe even like special when I get to the point where I go, hey, so since we are going on our date tomorrow, I think you should probably know, like,
My
my
name.
name's Joan. And I don't share that up front for this reason. And they honestly, almost 100% of the time say, oh my God, I'm so sorry that you felt the need to have to protect yourself in this way, that you've been put in situations where you didn't feel safe. And this was, you know,
Yeah.
your
To
best.
me, it's mind-boggling the stories that women share with me about their dating experience and the few guests that we've had on our show. Like, as a gay Black male, I mean, for the most part, I intimidate most of the world. So I haven't had the feelings of feeling like my space is being violated, or there's a chance that I could be attacked or something like that. I mean, there is, but there really isn't. Whereas some of the stories females have been sharing with me of just going on a date, like just wanting to, I don't know, get some nookie maybe, I don't know, without without the fear of it turning into a rape, or the
Right.
fear of them taking their power and enforcing it, or the feeling of I just don't feel safe here and he won't take me home. Like,
We've talked about that a lot too on our show. It's come up a lot in a lot of our episodes about
yeah.
that need for safety.
Well,
And I
I think
think more men need to know that.
it goes back to what you were saying about like what men may think is chivalrous, or what we think, or what they think that we might want when we don't.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
every single time I've been on a first date in the recent weeks, like they end the date with, oh, where did you park? Let me walk you to your car. Because what they're being told is, do not let a woman walk to her car alone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, if
Yep.
it's midnight, then maybe that's one thing. But if it's also 8 p.m., I mean, in every situation where someone says that to me, and most often they do say those specific words, I say, you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should be more assertive and
Mm-hmm.
say, I'm good, thank you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, sometimes I want them to walk me to the car and sometimes I really don't, because
Mm-hmm.
then that's also more information. Now you know what car, make, and model, and I
Yeah.
drive.
see
You
a
can look at
plate.
my license plate. Like,
Yeah.
it's just
But
one
it's a
of those
shame that
extra
you have
things
to
that
think
could,
that, like
yeah.
the fact that
Yeah.
you have to think that, the fact that
Yeah.
that's a variable at the end of the day, It really makes me
And
sad.
the purpose sometimes is different. So like for some men, it is just, I want to make sure you get to your car safely. But for others, it's where the kiss happens.
Sure. And that's a whole
Yeah.
power move too.
Right.
Yeah, and
You know, I
it's
want,
creepy still, and it's the whole do whatever it takes, don't take no for an answer, because a lot of men are conditioned with that mindset too. If you want it,
right.
you go and you get it. You are a man, and that's so dangerous. It's so dangerous.
You know, we didn't ask you in the main show, but I'm told we need to know now for
What?
sure. So, what are your thoughts about a kiss on the first date?
Oh my God. Right. So, it's so, ugh. If I want you to kiss me, you'll know. That's it. That's it. If I want you to kiss me, you will know. I can't say that is the case for all women, but like I will make it very obvious that that's something that you can proceed with safely, and I will not flinch or push you away or dodge, you know. Um I think if it's right, then and that's great. I'm not I'm certainly oh, and maybe this would have been a good answer to your traditional question earlier, which totally threw me. Um, is like I don't have hard and fast rules on like know this on the first date or wait till the third date for that. Like I think that's all bullshit. I'm gonna do whatever I
Feels
Feels
feel
right.
comfortable.
comfortable with, what
Yeah,
I want to do, like and it's totally different across the board. There will
yeah.
be people where I will wait a certain amount of time before there's any physical contact, and then that's
Hmm.
not always the case.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Why do you think that is sometimes? Do you think it's because naturally you're just not into it, or do you think more time will be able to? Because I feel like if I don't want you to touch me on the first date, there's a really good chance I'm not going to want you to touch me on the third date either.
Mm-mm.
No?
I don't know. I think that's totally
No.
valid.
Mm.
So let me give you an example. I went on a date last night, first date.
Right. How'd that go?
Yeah, it went really well. We had a lot of compatibility.
Really? Because you were not
I was not
necessarily
feeling it.
excited about it.
His pictures on his profile, not one of them was a smiling photo. And
Mhm.
I think the only reason why I
That's
went on
hard.
this date was because I don't know. Yes, to those who are watching us, now you're gonna know my secret. I have to, for my job, get back on to some dating sites just to see what the trend is like. And it's not that I'm trying to manipulate anyone or pretend to be something that I'm not, because I don't do that when I'm not single, and I am single. So I feel like if the right match pops up, I will go on a date with you out of respect. And I am looking for that partner. So I wanted to see how Coffee Meets Bagel was doing in the area because it is not commonly used in small towns. It's a big city app.
Mhm.
And so I got on it, and it is a big city app still, and there's like no one here except for this one guy who just moved here like a few months ago, and we matched, and I was like, whoops. So on a date with him last night, and we have so much in common. We've traveled a lot, we've lived in other countries, we read the same types of books, we like similar movies. Like we had so much to talk about, but it was lacking some chemistry.
Mhm.
And chemistry can kick in later on. So
Mhm.
I'm not going to rule it out because compatibility is super important and connection is even more important. But he's a little on the shorter side, which I'm usually okay with. I can get around. It's just, and he's got a nice smile, but the chemistry for our first date was not there. And so
Mm.
I knew there's no way I'm kissing this guy on the first date.
Mhm.
I need to see if that chemistry will kick in later on after the
So if that
compatibility.
chemistry is not there, will you see him again?
Yes.
Because the other things were there.
Yes. And chemistry can
Do you
grow.
think that absolutely, you're right. Do you think that he felt chemistry and you didn't? Would he have gone in for a first kiss if you didn't make it apparent that that wasn't part of the plan?
So we walked back towards my car because we took a little walk around Pismo. I saw my car. I really respected the fact that he did not walk me to my car because it was right there. So I loved that we stayed on the sidewalk because he knew we could see my car. You don't need to walk me to it. And I made the first move as far as saying, because of the pandemic, can I hug you good night? Making it very clear I only wanted a hug. And he kind of looked at me and smiled and was like, I could see the thought process happening in his head. And he said, yes, of course. So I gave him a hug goodnight, and he went to his car, and I went to my car. It was
So was
perfect.
that you saying that? Was that almost like I need to go on a date one more time with you before I decide whether or not I want to kiss you? Because you gave an excuse as to why you don't, but you're not necessarily canceling it out.
I'm not, because it's really hard to find someone that you have that kind of compatibility, that
Mhm.
you can just easily talk with and have fun with and
Mhm.
joke with. And I
Yeah, but
am
that sounds like a
sarcastic.
friend. That sounds
I
like a friend
know,
and not.
but you never
But
know.
not to say you're intentionally friend zoning him, but
But you
it
kind of are.
honestly sounds, yeah. But it honestly sounds like someone who you would say, "Oh, you know who's a great guy? Oh, you know who's single?" Like you'll eventually pair him up with someone who
Yeah.
has chemistry with him.
But
You did
chemistry
say at
is
the
not
beginning
always
of
first
that,
date.
but you did say at the beginning of it, he's kind of short. And usually when we lead in with something like that, that's like our that's our hesitation sometimes. And I feel like there's nothing wrong with you not liking the guy because he's short. I mean, I'm attracted to my husband like 110%.
I've dated guys who were the same height. He said on his profile that he was 5'7". I've
Mhm.
dated other guys who have been 5'7". I am 5'5". Um, I'm okay with being a little bit taller than them usually. It's not a deal breaker. And that's not the chemistry, because I've had instant chemistry with other men who've been on the shorter side.
Mhm.
Um, it's hard to explain sometimes, the chemistry, but when you think about what is chemistry, chemistry is when you leave someone and you are thinking about them throughout the
Oh,
day. And
gotcha.
so sometimes chemistry does take a few dates to kind of happen. And so I want to give the opportunity to have that moment of, you know what, we have good compatibility. Maybe we
Mhm.
are just good friends, but I
Mhm.
want to give him at least a couple more dates just to see, like, can we have that chemistry? If not, then I'll be honest at that point and just kind
Yeah.
of bow out.
Yeah. Huh. I didn't think about it like that.
It's tricky, I mean, people are looking for chemistry on a first date, and you can't always have it on a first date. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, and those of you listening or watching us actually, since it's on Patreon or Patreon, um, we have our chemistry of love episode where we really dive in deep about this topic. So that's always a good thing to like rewatch again. Oh, Joan, you're here. You're back.
I'm back.
Yes. We're actually going to get this after show kind of wrapped up in a few.
Sooner the better.
The sooner the better. Why
You
did
can
she
hear
say?
me. Okay.
Yeah, I can
So
hear you. Mm.
the battery on my computer is dying. It's in the
Okay.
red zone.
Yeah.
That's why.
And on that note, thank you
Right.
for watching us on the after show. We had a great time. I had a great time having you here, Joan. It was nice chatting with you and learning more
I had
about you and
such a great
whatnot.
time. It was so nice meeting you.
It's nice meeting you as well. Even though we're all meeting virtually nowadays,
I
it's like
know.
it's so strange in a way. But anyway, it was nice meeting you.
Definitely. I would
Yeah.
totally do this again.
Yeah.
Yay.
Maybe for the next brunch chat, we'll add one more person and you can, have like a little panel going. We'll find a guy
Ooh,
to join in on the
Yeah.
conversation.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
So
Awesome.
remember, you have the controls for the recording.
Yeah. So let me stop that now.